Okay, we're going to look at rotations. We're only going to look at rotations about the origin. Okay, we're rotating it about the origin, which means we're rotating it around the point of origin. Okay, and we're going to look at 90 degrees and 180 degrees. All right, so one thing to pay attention to is the quadrants. So we have quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4 because they come in really handy. All right, we're going to do 1 point at a time. In this case, I'm going to show you how a 90-degree rotation works. So I'm going to say 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin. So point A, if I take point A, which is 5, 6, and I rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin, it would rotate 1 quadrant. So 90 degrees will go 1 quadrant, 180 would go 2 quadrants, and 270 would go 3 quadrants. When you go 90 degrees, 1 quadrant, you're going to end up in quadrant 2. And the important thing to know is that you have to switch the X and the Y. Okay? So it's going to become some version of 6, 5. So over here, notice in quadrant 2, it's -6, +5. So it should look like this, -6, +5. And just so you notice, if I were to draw a line to the origin and then out to that point, it makes a 90-degree angle. That's why it is a 90-degree rotation about the origin. Okay? So let's take a look at B. This one's A prime. So B is 5, 2. So when I go 1 quadrant over, so I'm going to go into quadrant 2, I'm going to switch those numbers. So instead of 5, 2, it's going to be 2, 5. But notice it's going to be a -2 and a +5. So B prime is -2, +2. And without even drawing, I'm just going to show you. So for C prime, oh, that doesn't really help because the numbers are the same. So it's going to be some version of 2, 2. And since it goes into quadrant 2, I know it's -2, +2. And it's going to look like this. Okay. And notice it's turned. Okay, now I'm going to give you just an example of another coordinate pair. So let's say I have a coordinate pair, -6, 3. So -6, +3. Let's say I have this one. If I want to rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise, I know it's going to rotate into this quadrant, and I'm going to switch the numbers. So it's going to be some version of 3, 6. And then I'm just going to look in this quadrant, quadrant 3, the X is a negative and the Y is a negative. So it would look like that. So -6, 3 would become -3, -6. That's how I would rotate it 90 degrees. Okay. Now, if I rotated it in the opposite direction, let's say I wanted to rotate it clockwise. Okay. So if I want to rotate it clockwise in that direction, I'm still going to have, I still have the same number. So it's still going to be some version of 3, 6 because it's a 90-degree rotation. And then I'm just going to look in this quadrant. In this quadrant, my signs are both positive. So it's going to be +3, +6. So a 90-degree rotation, the important thing to pay attention to is the X and Y switch places. Okay, no matter what. If it's a 90-degree rotation, the X and the Y are switching places. And then you have to pay attention to what quadrant it's in to understand what the sign, if they're going to be positive or negatives. Now, I want to take a look. Let's say we're going to rotate this 180 degrees. And let's take a look at that. Okay, so now we're going to do a 180-degree rotation. And it really doesn't matter if it's counterclockwise or clockwise because no matter what, you're going to end up in the next quadrant. So 180 degrees, you move 2 quadrants. So if I move 2 this way or 2 this way, I'm still going to end up in this quadrant. Okay, that's how that's going to work. So 180 degrees, if you take a look at point C, is 2, 2. And if I were to move 2 quadrants, so I'm going to move 2 quadrants over here. On this one, the numbers stay in the same place. Notice that if I were to draw a line through the origin, it makes a straight line, which is 180 degrees. So the coordinates for C prime, would be -2, -2. Okay? Let's take a look at B. So B is 5, 2. So I'm going to come into this quadrant and I'm going to go to -5, -2. Okay? So B prime is -5, -2. Let me just erase this so we have a little more room there. Okay? And then let's look at A. And again, I'm just going to show you if I were to draw through the origin, I would make a straight line because that's a 180-degree angle. And then A is 5, 6, and I'm going to keep that 5, 6. But since I'm moving into this quadrant, it's going to be -5, -6. It's going to be right here. Notice the shape. I rotated it 2 turns, okay? And so A prime would be -5, -6. So I want you to be paying attention to something with the coordinate pairs here. Is that they're exactly the same except for the sign. All signs change. The X and the Y changes for a 180-degree rotation, and it doesn't matter. Okay? So no matter what. So if I gave you a point, let's say I gave you this point, which is 4, -2. And I'm doing a 180-degree rotation in either direction, it's going to be -4, +2, because all I do is change the signs. So that's how you would do that. I'm just going to summarize here. I'm sorry. Let me just summarize what to do. So on a 90-degree rotation, you're going to switch the X and Y coordinates. Okay? And then you just go in to whatever quadrant it ends in, and that's how you get the signs. On a 180-degree rotation, the X and the Y, the numbers stay the same. Okay? All you do is change the signs of both, of the X and the Y, but the numbers stay the same. For 270 degrees, it follows the rule for 90 degrees. And that's all you need to know.